Hi, I'm Liz with Toth Properties, powered by EXP Realty. I'm a residential real estate agent in the Raleigh, Durham area, and today's video is about 2023 market projections. So I'm going to share my screen, and I wanted to start off with a great question that I've gotten from a lot of clients. Is the housing market going to crash? So Lawrence Yun, who is the chief economist at the National Association of Realtors, compiled all this data and put it together. And basically what he did is compare what does today's market look like to 15 years ago when the housing market crashed. It's a very different situation. You can see job losses. There were about 8 million job losses 15 years ago. Today, there's none. And I know you do hear on the news about layoffs here and there, but when you look at the overall net number, there's still job creation. There's about 20 million more people working than there was 15 years ago. The subprime loans, which really drove a lot of the issues when the housing market crashed 15 years ago, they were very prevalent. But since then, lending standards have become very strict and they've remained strict. So there's virtually no subprime loans out there. New construction, significantly less than what it was 15 years ago. And then inventory, 15 years ago, there were about 4 million homes on the market. Today, there's about 1 million. So significantly different versus where it was 15 years ago. And then mortgage delinquency and homes in foreclosure, very different picture than what it was 15 years ago. So, what he put all this information together and is basically saying the market is so different today versus 15 years ago. The likelihood of a huge housing crash is very unlikely. So if that's what you're waiting for before you go out and purchase a home, you might be waiting a while and you may want to reconsider that decision. Mortgage rates, I always like to look at what happened over the course of the year. So I've shown this slide a few times. It just boggles my mind to see what happened from 1 year ago to the end of the year with mortgage rates. Last year was really an anomaly when it comes to mortgage rates. We've never had a year where mortgage rates have more than doubled in 1 year. However, the good news is we have seen them declining over the last few weeks, and we continue since November. Basically, we've seen them decline on a weekly basis. Again, per Lawrence Yun, he's a chief economist at the National Association of Realtors. He says, rates are not going to go back down to 3%. So if you're sitting on the sideline and you're thinking you're going to wait until rates go down to 3% to buy before you buy a house, you might be waiting a long time. You might be better off jumping in the market. And then if they do go down to 3% in a few years, refinance and get the rate then. But don't wait for rates to go back down to 3% because his projections are they will settle in around 5%. And I always like to, a lot of us get used to 3%, 2%. We've heard that for a long time, and you get kind of used to hearing that. And when the rates start to go up, it's kind of a shock to your system. So I wanted to put this slide out there because I just thought it was interesting to share, what have the mortgage rates been by decade and how does today compare to what it was 20 years ago or in the 1970s. So you can see the average rate in the 1970s was almost 9%, in the 1980s, almost 13%. So when you look at today's rate, which is, low sixes, it's not bad compared to what it was in the 70s, 80s, 90s. We're closer to what it was in the 2000s as opposed to what it was then. So really, if you look at what it was in the 1980s, 6% is really kind of a deal. Foreclosures, I mentioned, they are up, but they're still near historic lows. And you can see these red lines are when the economy and the housing market crashed 15 years ago. Home price forecasts. What is going to happen with home prices? It's a mixed bag. So these are 7 experts. They're all making their projections on 2023 home prices. 3 are saying that it's going to decline. 4 are saying the home prices will increase. If you average all of them out, you end up with will probably be flat versus last year when you look at home prices. However, the bright spot for us here in Raleigh is the chief economist projects these are going to be the top 10 performing markets in 2023. So some of the markets are going to decline. Some of them will see larger declines. Others are going to outpace the average. And his projection is these are the 10 markets that are going to really outpace or outperform the 2023 average. And Raleigh is number 2 on the list. So that's great news for us here in Raleigh. And it's great news for you too. If you're looking to relocate here and purchase a home, it just means that it is a great investment purchasing a home in the Raleigh-Durham area. So the annual forecast, and this is, I'm going to get my annual forecast. If you look at, these blue boxes are basically what has happened. So in 2019, home sales were flat versus last year, but home prices were up almost 5%. In 2020, home sales were up almost 6%, prices were up 9%. 2021, home sales were up 8.5%, home prices were up almost 17%. In 2022, and we don't have all the final data yet because we're still in the very early days of January, but the estimate is that 2022 will finish with about a 16% decline in home sales, and then we'll still end up with an almost 10% increase in home prices. The forecast for next year is that we'll see a decline in sales again of about 7%, but that home prices will be flat versus last year. And then in 2024, we'll really bounce back. So if you buy a home in 2023, you can expect for the market to really heat up in 2024 because home sales will increase 10% and home prices are projected to increase 5%. So that gives you a snapshot of what's going to happen not only next year, but maybe going into 2024. And again, that's per the National Association of Realtors. So just a few things and a few notes to keep in mind as I get ready to close out the video for today is one, prices are going to stabilize. So if you're sitting on the sideline and one, you're waiting for rates to come down or you're waiting for prices to come down, you might be waiting a while. Your best bet is to get in the market today and try to get into a house this year and before things really take off again. Some markets are going to see price increases. Some are going to see declines. Remember, real estate is local. So a lot of the national news headlines always, talk about, the doom and gloom. Real estate is local. If you have questions on the real estate market, you want to know what's going on, or you're getting worried or anything like that, please call me. I'm happy to run through the numbers with you. There's no shortage of jobs at this time, so this really bodes well for home sales in the future. And mortgage rates most likely peaked in October. That's when they were over 7%. And the Federal Reserve will hopefully be less aggressive this year as inflation calms. Buyers are going to come back to the market. And what I've been seeing lately in my business and open houses that I have done is people who stepped out of the market a couple years ago are now coming back into the market. And that's just been my personal experience. Don't expect large price declines. I mentioned that, we still have low inventory, and our homes are still selling fast. We have about a 3-month supply of homes in Wake County. Homes are selling in about a month. That's not an excessive supply of homes. That's not a really long time for homes to be sitting on the market. And then obviously Raleigh is on the hot market list. We are the market to watch. We're going to outpace the national average. And the reason for this is because we have job growth, we have migration, we still have relatively affordable housing, and we still have housing shortages. So that is the market recap or market projections for 2023. If you have any questions that's specific to your neighborhood or you want more information, feel free to reach out. If you want to see more information on the Raleigh-Durham area, communities that we have to offer, or market reviews from last year, feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I look forward to talking to you again soon, and I hope you have a great day.